Picture this: the faint hum of a lawnmower in the distance, the scent of freshly brewed coffee lingering in my kitchen, and me standing in front of a mirror, smoothing down the fabric of a pale blue sundress that I've worn 100 times before. I'm Emily, 39 years old, and if you were to peek into my life, you'd see a woman who's got it all together on the outside: steady marriage, cozy home, predictable routines. But beneath that surface, there's a quiet ache, a longing for something I can't quite name. I'm married to Jack, who's 42 and the kind of man who lights up a room without even trying. He's got a heart of gold, works long hours at his day job, and pours every spare moment into his true love: baseball. As a pitcher for a local semi-professional team, Jack lives for the game, the smell of the dirt on the field, the crack of a bat, the roar of a small but loyal crowd. He's been at it for years, and I've always admired his dedication, even if I've never quite understood it. Our marriage, well, it's solid. We've built a life together, brick by brick, over the past decade. We've got our little rituals, Sunday dinners, movie nights when we're too tired to talk, and the occasional getaway when we can swing it. But lately, I've felt more like a spectator in Jack's world than a partner. His passion for baseball consumes him, and I'm often left on the sidelines, cheering him on because that's what a good wife does, right? I don't resent him for it, not really. But there are days when I wonder if there's more to life than being the supportive face in the crowd. I've tried to get into the sport, I really have, but the rules baffle me, the games drag on, and honestly, I'd rather be curled up with a good book than baking under the sun at a ballpark. Speaking of which, today's one of those days. It's a sunny Saturday afternoon, the kind where the sky is so blue it almost hurts to look at, and Jack's got a practice game at the local field. He asked me to come watch, his voice full of that boyish excitement that still melts me after all these years. So here I am, slipping on a pair of worn sneakers, grabbing my sunglasses, and plastering on a smile that I hope looks genuine. I'm not thrilled about spending my afternoon surrounded by the chatter of team families and the endless thwack of balls against gloves, but I'm doing this for Jack. I always do. As I head out the door, keys jangling in my hand, I can't shake the feeling that I'm just going through the motions, playing a role I've rehearsed 1,000 times. The drive to the field is short, just a few miles through our sleepy town where everyone knows everyone. I roll down the windows, let the warm breeze tousle my hair, and try to soak in the simplicity of the moment. The town slips by in a blur of familiar storefronts and waving neighbors, but my mind's already drifting elsewhere. I'm thinking about the book I left half-read on the coffee table, the laundry piling up, anything but the hours ahead of me at the baseball field. By the time I pull into the gravel lot near the bleachers, the sun's high and unrelenting, and I can already feel a bead of sweat trickling down my back. I grab my water bottle from the passenger seat, sling my bag over my shoulder, and make my way toward the stands. I pick a spot in the front row of the bleachers, deliberately far from the handful of other spectators, mostly wives and girlfriends of the players, chatting animatedly about things I've got no interest in joining. I'm not in the mood for small talk, not today. I just want to blend into the background, be here for Jack without having to pretend I'm thrilled about it. Settling onto the hard metal seat, I adjust my sunglasses, shielding my eyes from the glare bouncing off the field. The air smells like freshly cut grass, sharp and earthy, mixed with a faint whiff of dust kicked up by the players' cleats. Out on the diamond, the team's warming up, and I spot Jack right away. He's in his element, tossing a ball back and forth with a teammate, his face breaking into a wide grin every time he nails a pitch. The crack of bats against balls echoes through the air, a rhythmic sound that's almost hypnotic if I weren't so restless. I take a sip from my water bottle, grimacing at the lukewarm taste, and try to focus on the game unfolding in front of me. Truth is, I barely understand what's going on. I know the basics: pitch, hit, run. But the finer points, the strategies, the endless rules, they're lost on me. I've sat through enough of these games to know when to clap, though, and I make sure to do it whenever Jack glances my way. He's always looking for that little nod of encouragement, and I force a smile, waving half-heartedly as he winds up for another throw. Inside, though, I'm bored out of my mind. I pull out my phone, scrolling aimlessly through social media, checking the time every few minutes, wishing I could fast forward through the next couple of hours. I'd rather be anywhere else, maybe at a quiet cafe with a latte and a novel, or even just back home tackling that laundry. But here I am, playing the part of the supportive wife, even if my heart's not in it. My gaze drifts back to Jack, and I can't help but admire how alive he looks out there. His focus, his passion, it's infectious to everyone but me, I guess. I've always loved that about him, how he throws himself into what he cares about with everything he's got. But sitting here, baking under the relentless sun, I feel that familiar pang of disconnection, like I'm watching his life through a glass wall I can't break through. I'm lost in that thought when a shadow falls over me, blocking out the glare for a moment. I look up, squinting despite my sunglasses, and see a man standing there, his presence commanding even before he says a word. He's dressed in a tailored navy suit, completely out of place among the casual t-shirts and shorts of the other spectators. His hair is slicked back, not a strand out of line, and his gray eyes, sharp and piercing, seem to cut right through me, like he's already figured out every thought in my head. I shift uncomfortably on the bleacher, suddenly hyper-aware of my faded sundress and the sweat beading on my forehead. He smiles, a polished, practiced kind of smile, and extends a hand. "I'm Richard," he says, his voice smooth as silk, carrying a weight that makes me sit up a little straighter. "I'm the director of Jack's team. I don't believe we've met." I hesitate for a split second before shaking his hand, my grip probably weaker than it should be. His palm is cool despite the heat, and I mumble something about being Jack's wife, Emily, feeling oddly small under his gaze. He nods, as if he already knew that, and takes a seat beside me, uninvited, but with such confidence that I don't even think to protest. Up close, I can smell the faint, expensive scent of his cologne, a stark contrast to the dusty, grassy air of the field. "So, Emily," he starts, his tone casual, but his eyes never leaving mine. "Are you enjoying the game?" I force a polite smile, the kind I've perfected over years of small talk at these events. "Yes, it's great. My husband's playing," I say, gesturing vaguely toward the field where Jack is lining up for another pitch. Richard follows my gaze, his expression unreadable, and nods slowly. "Jack's one of our best, a real asset to the team," he says, pointing him out with a subtle tilt of his chin. I feel a flicker of pride at the compliment, but there's something about the way Richard's looking at me, not at Jack, that makes my stomach twist in a way I can't quite explain. It's not just admiration or curiosity, it's intense, almost invasive, like he's peeling back layers I didn't even know I had. I try to focus on the game, on Jack's fluid movements as he throws another strike, but Richard's presence is impossible to ignore. He shifts slightly closer, his knee brushing against mine, and I tense, unsure if it was accidental. Then, before I can process what's happening, he reaches for my hand, casually as if it's the most natural thing in the world, and places it on his thigh. His touch is firm, deliberate, leaving no room for misinterpretation. My breath catches in my throat, and I freeze, my mind racing a mile a minute. I can feel the heat of his leg through the fabric of his suit, the strength in his grip, and my heart is pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it. I should pull away. I know I should. Every rational part of me is screaming to yank my hand back, to stand up, to walk away from this man I've just met. But I don't. I can't. I'm rooted to the spot, caught in some strange, paralyzing mix of shock and something else, something I'm ashamed to even name. He turns his head, his gray eyes locking onto mine, and his voice drops to a low, suggestive murmur. You know, Emily, I'd love to show you something special. I've got a private office just across the lot, and inside, I keep an aquarium with the rarest tropical fish you've ever seen. Why don't we grab a coffee there? Get out of this heat for a while. His words hang in the air, heavy with implication, and I feel my cheeks flush hot, a deep crimson I can't hide. My mouth opens, but the words don't come. Instead, I just nod, a small, almost imperceptible movement, but it's enough for Richard. His smirk widens, a knowing glint in those sharp gray eyes, and he stands, offering me a hand to help me up from the bleacher. My legs feel unsteady as I rise, the heat of the sun and the weight of my decision pressing down on me all at once. I glance back at the field, where Jack is still focused on the game, oblivious to the storm brewing in my chest. I tell myself I'll be back before he even notices I'm gone, but deep down, I know I'm stepping onto a dangerous path, one I might not be able to turn back from. We walk away from the bleachers, leaving the sounds of the game behind us, the crack of bats, the shouts of players, the murmur of the small crowd fading into a distant hum. The field stretches out to our left, a sea of green under the blazing sun, but my eyes are drawn to Richard's confident stride as he leads me toward a sleek black car parked just beyond the gravel lot. The vehicle looks out of place here, its polished surface gleaming like a dark mirror, reflecting the cloudless sky above. Every step I take feels heavier, my sneakers crunching against the loose stones, my heart thudding in my ears. I'm hyper-aware of everything, the way the warm breeze tugs at the hem of my sundress, the faint scent of Richard's cologne still lingering in the air, the way my palms are clammy despite the dryness of the day. When we reach the car, Richard pauses, turning to me with that same polished smile. He opens the passenger door with a smooth, deliberate motion, holding it for me like some kind of gentleman, though the smirk on his lips tells a different story. I hesitate, my fingers tightening around the strap of my bag, my mind screaming at me to turn around, to run back to the safety of the bleachers and Jack's world. But I don't. Instead, I slide into the cool leather seat, the door clicking shut behind me with a finality that makes my stomach lurch. Richard rounds the car and slips into the driver's side, the engine purring to life with a low, powerful hum. He doesn't say a word as we pull out of the lot, and neither do I. The silence between us is thick, charged with unspoken tension, and I keep my eyes fixed on the dashboard, afraid to meet his gaze. The drive to the team's administrative building is short, just a few miles down a winding road lined with old oaks and patchy grass. I watch the scenery blur past through the tinted window, my thoughts a tangled mess. I think of Jack, out there on the field, pouring his heart into every pitch, trusting that I'm there watching, supporting him like I always have. Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and unrelenting, but it's drowned out by the strange, reckless pull I feel toward whatever awaits me with Richard. I don't know what I'm doing, not really, but I can't seem to stop myself. The car slows as we approach a modern, glass-fronted building, its clean lines and reflective surfaces a stark contrast to the dusty field we've left behind. Richard parks with precision, cutting the engine, and for a moment, we just sit there, the quiet stretching taut like a wire about to snap. He finally speaks, his voice low and smooth. "Come on, Emily, you're going to love this." I force a small smile, stepping out of the car as he leads the way inside. The lobby is cool and sterile, all polished marble and muted lighting, and we take an elevator up several floors, the hum of the machinery, the only sound between us. My nerves are fraying with every passing second, my hands fidgeting at my sides, but I keep my expression neutral. Or at least I hope I do. When the doors slide open, we step into a hallway lined with sleek office doors, and Richard guides me to the end, unlocking a heavy wooden door with a keycard. He pushes it open, gesturing for me to enter first, and I do, my breath catching as I take in the sleek, dimly lit office before me. The space is all sharp angles and modern design, with a massive desk dominating the center, papers neatly stacked, and a wall of windows overlooking the town below. My eyes are drawn to the aquarium Richard mentioned, a glowing centerpiece against the far wall, filled with vibrant, exotic fish gliding through crystal-clear water. Their colors, electric blues, fiery oranges, shimmering silvers, mesmerize me for a moment, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside me. But I barely have time to process the beauty before Richard steps closer, his presence filling the room as much as the faint hum of the aquarium filter does. He shuts the door behind us with a soft click, and suddenly, the world outside feels a million miles away. I stand there, frozen near the center of the room, my fingers nervously twisting the strap of my bag. Richard moves with a predator's grace, circling around to stand just behind me, close enough that I can feel the warmth of his breath on my neck. "Beautiful, aren't they?" he murmurs, his voice low and intimate, referring to the fish but carrying a weight that makes my skin prickle. I nod, unable to form words, my gaze still fixed on the tank as if it's a lifeline. But then his hands are on my shoulders, firm yet gentle, guiding me to turn and face him. My heart thunders in my chest, so loud it drowns out every rational thought, every warning screaming in the back of my mind. I should step away, say something, anything to break this spell, but I don't. I can't. His gray eyes lock onto mine, intense and unyielding, and before I know it, his hands slide down my arms, pulling me closer. The space between us vanishes, and I'm caught in the pull of him, the scent of his cologne wrapping around me like a fog. My breath hitches as his fingers brush against my waist, steady and deliberate, and I feel myself leaning into his touch, despite every instinct telling me to stop. It's like I'm outside my own body, watching this unfold, powerless to pull back. The room seems to shrink, the walls closing in until it's just us, the soft glow of the aquarium casting flickering shadows across his face. My mind flashes to Jack, his smile, his trust, our life together. But the image is swept away by the rush of this moment, a tidal wave I can't fight. I lose myself in it, in the way Richard's touch ignites something dormant inside me, something I haven't felt in years. It's a dangerous thrill, electric and consuming, coursing through me like wildfire. My hands tremble as they find his shoulders, not to push him away, but to hold on, as if letting go would mean falling apart. Time blurs, seconds stretching into eternity, and I'm adrift in a sea of sensation. The warmth of his skin, the steady rhythm of his breath, the way every nerve in my body seems to come alive under his gaze. Guilt is there, lurking at the edges of my mind, but it's overshadowed by this raw, reckless need, a hunger I didn't even know I had until now. I let myself forget everything else, just for these stolen moments, pushing thoughts of my marriage, of Jack, into a dark corner where they can't reach me. When it's over, reality crashes back with a brutal force. I'm sitting on the edge of his desk, my hands shaky as I adjust the straps of my sundress, trying to smooth out the wrinkles as if that could erase what just happened. My cheeks burn, not from exertion, but from the weight of shame settling over me like a heavy blanket. I can't look at Richard, not yet. My eyes are fixed on the floor, on the polished hardwood that reflects the dim light, as I try to steady my breathing. He's standing a few feet away, casually straightening his tie, his composure infuriatingly intact, while I feel like I'm unraveling at the seams. The silence between us is suffocating, broken only by the faint gurgle of the aquarium and the distant hum of the building's air conditioning. Then he speaks, his tone as smooth and detached as ever, like nothing monumental just shifted in my world. "I'll drive you back to the field," he says, as if we've just concluded a casual business meeting. I nod mutely, still unable to meet his eyes, and follow him out of the office, the click of the door locking behind us sounding like a gavel slamming down on my choices. The ride back is a blur, the hum of the engine a dull backdrop to the chaos in my head. I keep my gaze out the window, watching the familiar streets slip by, each one bringing me closer to the life I've just shattered. When we pull into the gravel lot, the game is long over, the bleachers empty, the field silent under the late afternoon sun. Richard doesn't say goodbye, just gives me a curt nod before driving off, leaving me standing there, alone, with the weight of what I've done pressing down on my chest. Days pass, but the secret festers inside me like a wound that won't heal. I go through the motions at home, cooking dinner, smiling at Jack when he talks about his day, but every word feels like a lie. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the truth to claw its way out, and when it finally does, it's worse than I could have imagined. It's a Thursday evening, the kind of quiet night where the air feels heavy with impending rain, when Jack comes home from a team meeting. I'm in the kitchen, rinsing dishes, when I hear the front door slam with a force that makes me jump. The sound of his footsteps is heavy, deliberate, as he storms into the room, and I turn to see his face. Pale, contorted with a mix of hurt and fury I've never seen before. My heart stops, the dish slipping from my hands into the sink with a dull clatter. "Richard showed me the video, Emily," he says, his voice trembling, each word sharp enough to cut through the silence. "During the team meeting, in front of everyone, a security feed from his office, you and him, how could you?" His eyes, usually so warm, are glassy with betrayal, and his hands are shaking as he grips the edge of the counter, like he needs it to keep himself upright. I open my mouth, but nothing comes out. There's no defense, no excuse that could undo what he's seen. The raw emotion in the room is suffocating. His anger, his pain, my guilt all colliding in a storm I can't escape. I just stand there, frozen, as the weight of his words sinks in. Richard did this. Whether out of spite or as leverage, I don't know. But he's torn my life apart with a single calculated move. Jack doesn't wait for me to respond. He turns away, his shoulders hunched, and heads straight for our bedroom. I follow, my legs feeling like lead, and stop in the doorway, watching as he yanks a suitcase from the closet. His movements are jerky, fueled by rage and heartbreak, as he throws clothes into the bag, shirts, jeans, whatever he can grab. His hands tremble with every item he packs, the fabric crumpling under his grip, and I can see the tension in his jaw, the way he's fighting to keep it together. The silence between us is deafening, heavier than any argument we've ever had. He won't look at me, not once, his eyes fixed on the task at hand, and I don't blame him. I've broken something fundamental between us, something that can't be mended with words or apologies. "I'm leaving, Emily," he finally says, his voice low and final, cutting through the quiet like a blade. "I'm leaving the team, and I'm leaving you. For good." There's no room for negotiation in his tone, no flicker of doubt. He zips the suitcase shut with a harsh rasp, the sound echoing in my ears like a door slamming on our life together. I don't move from the doorway. Don't reach out. Don't beg him to stay. I can't. The words are there, lodged in my throat. But they feel hollow, meaningless after what I have discovered, leaving me standing in silence as he walks away, the weight of unspoken truths heavy in the air between us. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.